Hi, I'm Peter Royce, and I'm here to give you a brief introduction to Cassiodorus and to Cassiodorus.org. Cassiodorus.org is a online learning website where I offer semester-long tutorials in logic, rhetoric, or in world history. Really, my primary clients are usually homeschoolers, and I was homeschooled myself, and I'm really teaching from the classical and Christian tradition of education. But I'm inspired by Cassiodorus as the founder of classical education. I found him when I went looking for who came up with the trivium and the quadrivium, and he's a monk from the 6th century, monk and statesman first and then monk, who basically wrote a treatise called On Divine and Secular Learning that served as the sort of the manual for education, or one of the manuals for education through the Middle Ages, and really played a formative role in the educational tradition of the Western civilization. But let's take a quick look at who Cassiodorus is, and then talk a little bit about how he connects to what I'm doing. So, Flavius Magnus Aurelius Cassiodorus, senator, was a statesman of a noble family from the southern end of Italy, near the end of the boot. His father is a governor of Sicily, Cassiodorus begins serving as a statesman under his father, and eventually climbs the ranks under the Ostrogoths, who are ruling the western half of the Roman Empire. Eastern and Western Rome, the Roman Empire, are divided at this point in time, although during Cassiodorus' lifetime, Justinian comes from the east, from Constantinople, and reconquers the west. And that's actually part of Cassiodorus' story, is the reconquest of the west and how that affects his life. He actually is taken to Constantinople in that process. So, Cassiodorus' climb under the Ostrogoths has one interesting step in it, one especially interesting step, shall we say. I believe it's near the top of his career. He actually fills in the place of Boethius. Boethius is the famous author of the Consolation of Philosophy, who was taken for treason, put in prison, and while he's in prison he writes this book about the Consolation of Philosophy, how philosophy embodied as a lady comes and talks to him and encourages him and helps him to cope with his worry and his dismay at the loss of his fortune. And so this book is very influential through the Middle Ages, read by all the scholars, and an important work. Immediately after Boethius is executed for treason, Cassiodorus appears to have taken his place in the same office of this consul, some sort of there are various levels of consul, and I forget what the specific title is, but Boethius becomes, or Cassiodorus fills in this place of Boethius. Another interesting note from this early period of his life is that Cassiodorus is interested in Christian education from the very beginning, almost from the beginning of what we know about him. He's trying to start a school of divine letters in Rome, and he works with Pope Agapetus on a library for that school. The school is never built; he's never able to do it, but he's interested and he's trying to do that. He's striving for that throughout his life. So then Justinian comes from the west and conquers from the east. And Justinian comes from the east and conquers the Western Empire, brings it back under the same rule. So now the Roman Empire is united again for a period of time, and Cassiodorus is taken away to Constantinople. We don't know if he went willingly or semi unwillingly, or whether he went if he was really taken captive. That's a little unclear. But he went there and he stayed there for about 20 years, actually. And his work there, what he actually began to do there, was he began to write his treatise on divine and secular learning. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. When he comes back to Rome, after that period of time, to Italy really, he goes to his estate in southern Italy and founds a monastery called the Vivarium. And it's a monastery that's very focused on learning, on books. He has a library there and a scriptorium, and he writes these little handbooks for for teaching, and I see it as a real innovation. Let me read a quote now. I was moved by divine love to devise for you, with God's help, these introductory books to take the place of a teacher. Again, he sees that he can't have the school that he wanted. He was trying to build a school in Rome, and that never happened. And so he's not giving up on learning. It doesn't mean that we can't do it. It's not just a sad chapter in his life. He's innovative. He's resilient. He's been through a lot, but he's gonna write these books for you that will teach you instead. Through them, I believe that both the textual sequence of Holy Scripture and a compact account of secular letters may, with God's grace, be revealed. These works may seem rather plain in style, since they offer not polished eloquence, but basic description. He's practical. This is not your highfalutin curator of the ancient world. Some people have mistakenly understood Cassiodorus to be a sort of a lover of the ancients and classics, and in a sense he certainly is, but in another sense he's a very practical man. He's delivering this practical tool to you the best way that he knows how, and he's not going to be stopped by a simple problem like not having a teacher. He's going to use what he has available. But they are of great use as an introduction to the source both of knowledge of this world and of the salvation of the soul. I commend in them not my own teaching, but the words of earlier writers, that we justly praise and gloriously herald to later generations. For learning taken from the ancients in the midst of praising the Lord is not considered tasteless boasting. So he's a humble man, and he has a desire for Christians to study the ancient world, study the classics, in order to have to be well educated, in order to understand and teach Scripture, and to have a good understanding of the world. He believes that people should be equipped, basically. So he's an inspiring character. But what he does with the handbooks are of most interest to me. I'm offering online instruction, which is an innovation of sorts, and Cassiodorus is offering learning by handbooks, which is an innovation of sorts. And it's a solution to a resource problem. Would it be best if there was a school at Rome? Cassiodorus probably thinks it would be. Would it be best if each of you had qualified instructors wherever you live? It probably would be best, but it may not be the case yet. And certainly, even if you do have resources for certain things, you don't have resources for everything. And so here's an opportunity, here's a way that we can increase learning and study the ancients in the midst of praising the Lord. So I think that Cassiodorus' vision is inspiring. I hope you find that it is too, and I hope you've enjoyed this brief introduction to what Cassiodorus does. On a practical note, what we're doing here is I'm teaching classes in logic, rhetoric, and world history, and those are traditionally taught in a semester-long format where we do everything interactively online. I'm hoping to use more video resources like this. This is somewhat experimental. Forgive me if some of this doesn't look perfect as I'm figuring it out. But we're going to use some video resources to help introduce topics, deliver lectures about subjects in short video format, where you can go back and watch them again and again, get the information down just perfectly, and learn everything you can out of it. And then we'll hopefully move on to having also this incorporated with the classes. So the class I'm teaching this fall, I'll be recording a video for the class, and then I'll be offering a tutorial for the students. So it's kind of exciting what's going on. I hope that you find it inspiring and interesting, and I hope you'll feel free to send me an email or give me a call if you're interested in learning more about what's going on here. And I hope that you'll also take some time to find out a little bit more about Cassiodorus. Thanks for watching.